Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. As of recording, we are now just one short month away from changeover day, when all of the brand new FY1 doctors will start their first jobs in the NHS, their first jobs as doctors. Huge congratulations, by the way, on all the graduations going on at the moment. The pictures are great. Let me know in the comments down below if you've just graduated. Starting FY1 is a huge thing as a new doctor. It's a huge achievement to start with. It's also a transition point, a time of huge change. And that's why today I've partnered with Doctorsnetuk to bring you the 2025 edition of my Tips for New Doctors video, because I'm starting specialty training myself as you guys join the NHS. We're going through new processes together, and my thoughts have actually changed a little bit over time. So it won't just be a rehash of old videos, hopefully some of the information, and I hope that some of it is useful to you. The first tip I want to share with you all is set yourself up for future success, and this is some version of work smarter, not harder. Because a lot of the box ticking exercises that you'll need to do for completion of the foundation program, things like audit and quality improvement, leadership, teaching, can be done in such a way to optimally prepare yourself for specialty applications and applications to other types of work you might want to do after the foundation program. And the most efficient way to do this is work backwards. Look at the specialties that you're interested in applying for, or fellowships or PhDs or whatever it is you might want to do, and look prospectively at what they ask for in terms of projects, impact, evidence. If you're interested in a specialty like radiology, for example, for it to count in your specialty application for any meaningful number of points, it must be in radiology. So it makes sense, given that you need to do some amount of audit and QI in foundation anyway. If you manage to do your foundation audit project in radiology, then it's a lot more efficient to get that project presented at a local or national conference, rather than realizing later that you need to do this and then needing to do a whole other project just to tick those boxes. All of this to say, before you start working on anything, think 2 to 3 years into the future where you might want to be, and can you make the projects that you need to do to satisfy the curriculum work for you in terms of your career. Tip number 2 is your jobs list is your best friend, and whether it's Christmas or not, you will want to make a list and check it twice, because the reality is that we are working in highly dynamic and pressured environments. Information is flying thick and fast everywhere all the time. That means in turn that it's very easy to forget things, and trust me, when someone rings you about something, it is very tempting to just go, okay, I'll remember that and I'll get to it when I get back to the office, it's fine. If someone tells you something that's clinically important, write it down, you safeguard it, you've got another reliable source of information that isn't your working memory. You need to write things down as they come in and have a structured and efficient template. And that's a topic we can talk more about another time, but the basics are, for me, 1, having something that's structured around your actual workplace, so that might be a list of beds, or just wards depending if you're on call, or wards you're covering if you're on call perhaps, just so you know which patient each task belongs to and where they are. I think having a way to triage tasks by urgency is also quite important, so you know what the critical ones are and what the ones are that can maybe wait. Number 3 is tracking task progress, so being able to differentiate between a task that hasn't been started yet, one that is in progress or pending, you may be waiting for results to come back, and one that is complete and you don't need to look at anymore. Most people seem to use a box system that's either empty if a task still needs to be done, it's half full if it's in progress, or filled in if the task is done. And then finally, 4th in this list for me, and this is more a paranoid recommendation of mine, but if you've called or chased something, I like to document the times at which that has happened, and this is specifically to protect you in the event that something is delayed. Because if you need a specialty opinion on something, or you need to speak to a particular person and you can't get through, I recommend writing down the number that you called and the time at which you called. And this is not a snarky comment at all about other services being lazy or unreachable. There might be perfectly good reasons why they can't answer you, but if trying to get hold of someone else about something is your job, I think having evidence that you tried is the right thing to do. Because in the event that care is delayed that maybe should have been provided earlier, That is your evidence in the chain to say, I did my bit of this and escalated when I couldn't get hold of anyone. The next tip is that someone else's urgent is not necessarily your urgent. When you go to work on a given day, you have a set of priorities, things that you want or need to achieve. Applying a bit of theory of mind to this, so does everyone else that has gone to work that day, be they a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, a physio, whatever. Everyone has their own things that they're trying to do and things that they think are important and are the most important thing to them in any given moment. So now let's imagine that you're doing the ward round and you're getting badgered repeatedly by someone about an urgent TTO. This is discharge medication that needs to be prescribed, or you are in the middle of managing an acutely unwell septic patient while you're on call, and then there is a ward ringing you elsewhere because a family is wanting an update on a different patient. Now, as we all know, the most important thing to us as doctors and what we are expected to do is medically manage the unwell patients in front of us and keep them safe. Anything that is life or limb threatening or threatens deterioration takes precedent above literally everything else. And this is where we need to understand that my most important in any given moment and someone else's view of what the most important thing is are often not going to be the same thing, because different services and different pathways have different demands. Sometimes you're going to need to be comfortable about sticking to your guns and that and saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I cannot attend to this other task that you want me to. I have a clinical priority in front of me. I can get to it when I have time, and that might be in half an hour, particularly when you're on call or on nights and there are very few staff on the ground. Clinical care takes priority always. People may threaten to put in incident reports and day ticks and things if you're not coming to do the TTO urgently. In some circumstances, you have to be comfortable with letting them do that. The optimal solution, of course, is finding someone else who can help or delegating tasks that need to be done to other doctors, other members of the MDT. You are in a team, remember. And by keeping things calm and finding a degree of compromise or moving tasks around, you might be able to help each other out. And now it's time for a word from our sponsor. No, hang on, I'm actually going to interrupt my own ad break to give you an extra tip. Signing up to the doctors.net.uk platform allows you to register a doctors.org.uk email address, which I've genuinely found really helpful for keeping some of my professional emails and presenting myself online as a doctor work separate from my personal emails, just to help maintain a little bit more of a boundary between work and life. But sorry, Pastoli, as you were saying. Today's video is sponsored by doctors.net.uk, the free and exclusive online platform for medical doctors to communicate, connect, and keep up to date with the latest news and CPD resources. I genuinely, hand on heart, use it each and every day to keep up with the medical news. More recently, I've actually found myself browsing the message boards and comments a lot more on the news articles. Because each account is verified to be a real doctor, you can be sure that you're talking in a safe environment and get professional insights from others in the same space. It's also ARCP and appraisal season for many of us right now, and I've genuinely made use of some of the CPD accredited educational resources, including this most very excellent one on emergency CT imaging of the brain, which, as we all know, is one of the most important things any doctor can ever know, of course. So be sure to register today using the link below to tell them I sent you, and thank you very much doctors.net.uk for sponsoring this video. The next tip is thinking about your place within the team, and again, I'll make another video about this fairly soon, but I think there are two key aspects to your job as an FY1. The first and most important, obviously, is becoming a safe, independently acting doctor, and that is developed through a combination of close working with your consultants and time on call, making plans and decisions under supervision. But by the end of that FY1 year, you are going to be fully registered as an autonomously acting doctor. The second bit, though, is thinking about how you fit into the overall medical or surgical team. What is your role? Because you, as a new FY1 particularly, have a relatively small number of things within your skill set in that specialty compared to the senior doctors. As is natural, they've been there and been through training programs a lot longer than you have. You have your small box of things, do them well, and take the initiative to fix problems within your competence. And I didn't start thinking about things this way until my clinical research fellowship job in my FY3, so I was a bit more experienced, but a big part of your job is effectively absorbing the things that you can deal with as an FY1 to free up your SHO, the doctor sort of above you, and then the registrar above them to do the tasks that only they can deal with. And there will be a lot of things you can meaningfully do. As an SHO, I viewed one of the really important parts of my role of trying to do as much as possible such that it left the registrar mentally as free as possible to deal with the huge amount of service admin and burden that they were dealing with, which in turn tries to make things easier for the consultant. And some of the really basic things in surgery, like, is everyone prescribed their low molecular weight heparin? Has it been cancelled if people are going to theatre tomorrow? Has everyone got the bloods that they need to go to theatre? Is it documented properly in the notes when they need to be starved from? All of this is absolutely well within your competence as the surgical FY1 doctor. And your team will be thankful for it if they recognise you're trying to go out of your way and do a good job to keep the service running smoothly. The penultimate tip today is document it or it did not happen, and this dovetails very nicely from my point about jobs lists. It serves a few different purposes in healthcare. The first, and perhaps most obvious of which, obviously, is keeping everyone in the team up to date. It makes the plans clear. Documentation is required for delivery of clinical care. When you do the ward round every day and you write the entries, that is documentation that is servicing the patient's clinical plan. But obviously, more importantly than ever, documentation is retrospective evidence of something that did or did not happen. Because in the event that something goes wrong, an NHS trust's first priority is protecting the trust. It is not protecting you. And if you, as a doctor, need to be thrown under the bus to protect the trust from medico-legal liability and a big legal payout, that is what will happen. So document everything very carefully. Ward rounds, instructions from seniors, discussions with other specialties, especially if you're taking advice from other specialties, you need to write down who you spoke to, what time, what their role, their grade was. And as I said before, if you can't get hold of someone, you should also be writing that down. On top of all of this, make sure that you are registered with appropriate medical indemnity, and personally, I would recommend joining a union too, just so your back is maximally covered and you've got people in the room defending you if things get a bit sticky. And then lastly, perhaps the most important tip for a new doctor is call for help. The thing I want to say to close this video is that there are two very important things that are true at the same time. One is that by virtue of being at medical school for many years and graduating successfully, you are highly trained, highly knowledgeable, and highly competent. You are a doctor. At the same time as that is true, as an FY1 doctor, you are provisionally registered, not fully registered, and the reality is that medicine is highly complex, often fraught with difficult decisions, and patients can become very unwell very quickly in ways that are beyond your competence to immediately deal with. And equally, as doctors, we actually have, in the grand scheme of things, very wide-ranging powers to interfere with people's lives in different ways, and that is an enormous responsibility. What all of this means for a new F1 is that your threshold for calling for help should be very low, and this should never, ever be seen as a sign of weakness. When I've supervised foundation doctors in the past in the SHO level capacity, and I will increasingly be doing that as a surgical trainee in a complicated and difficult specialty, the people that I would worry about the most would be the ones who are not calling me or touching base regularly. Things can go very bad very fast. So firstly, please speak out when you need help, and B, if you're not sure in any given situation if you need help, then you call anyway. No doctor has the right to be annoyed at the F1 calling them for help. That is what we are all here for. That is part of the job. But I think if there is one thing we can be sure of, it's they will be a lot more annoyed if you didn't call for help when you should have done than if you do call for help when you are actually capable of dealing with it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Huge congratulations on making it to the end of medical school. Really proud of all. If you're joining us as doctors in the summer, please let me know down in the comments. If anyone's coming to the southwest, Bristol and Derriford, please let me know. I'll probably bump into you at some point. Thank you so very much for watching, and thank you doctors.net.uk for sponsoring this video. Take care. I'll see you all soon.